Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Before I introduce you to our guest, I had a quote picked for this episode, and then I changed it last minute. So I'm going to read both. The first one was, "What worries you masters you" by John Locke. But I was re-listening to the first episode we did together, episode 144, with the one and only Scott Rutkay, founder, Concourse Land Transfer, really the man, most interesting man. And I was re-listening to our other podcast, and I came across this quote. I really loved it. "Leaders are the pressure valve for whoever they lead." Scott Rutkay, Locke. One and only Scott. Thanks for coming back here. Listen to this. Listen to episode 144 again. It'll be a completely different conversation. But let's start there. You actually said that came out of your mouth, and I was happy about that. Well, thanks for coming on the show, by the way.
Thanks, Jay. I appreciate it. So I love to quote myself. Remind me exactly what I said.
Dude, leaders are the pressure valve for whoever they lead. And right as you were elaborating on it, you popped in here and I paused. It was at the last 5 minutes.
Gotcha.
But I thought that was such a strong thought, the pressure valve for the business. And then you were saying, you were going into, like, if I came into my office and then I paused it, I guess, like, throw everything down. Like, so I don't know what comes to mind. That's a Scott Rutkay.
I think that attitude is so important. And that it can manifest itself in a million different ways. If I walk into my office and I have brought something in from the outside, or if I bring something, just negative energy, and what happens is there's a hush in the office. Oh, Scott's pissed. They know it going in, and now, a couple of things happen. Some people are inquisitive. Why is Scott pissed? Some people, feel like, is Scott pissed at me? Some people just say, maybe Scott's always pissed, and that's just the way he is all the time. I mean, that's possible too.
Oh, that's a great, yeah.
And that's without me even discussing what is on my mind. So you poison the well long before you open your mouth. If that's the way that you're entering a space. And I try very hard to make this an environment that people want to be in. We're in the office, 8-10 hours a day. We're working on complicated things that, you don't see every day. And we have to be able to, deliver bad news all the time to people in a way that doesn't depress them, but it's a call to action to get something fixed. So it's super important that when I'm here, I make sure that everybody is, knows that I'm happy to be here, and that I welcome them to be happy to be here as well, because that's just as important. It's almost more important for them to be happy in this environment than for me.
Is there a coaching aspect to being in the title business?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% sure I've ever called it coaching. It's more education in my mind, but you're absolutely right. I mean, it's the same thing. I tend to hire very hardworking individuals that don't necessarily have title experience, have real estate experience to be sure, but not necessarily title. And it is different. And there is an art to it in a way. While lending and title insurance are parallel businesses, they don't always align 100%. So we're doing something different than a lender is. They're lending money. We're giving an insurance product. And that's not necessarily always the same. What I think is important might not be as important to a bank, and what they think is important might not be that important to me. And it's important that we're able to communicate those differences and explain why we're asking for the things that we're asking for.
What are you seeing out there now?
Yeah, I mean, it's bad. And and when I say it's bad, what I mean is that there is a general malaise in the industry. The good news is that if you're clever, you can use that as an opportunity for growth. I've seen businesses grow the largest during times when their competitors are contracting. And it's, I've been using this as an opportunity to upgrade personnel, make sure, all our I's are dotted and all our T's are crossed, make sure all the compliance pieces are in place, all the things that you forget about during the busy times. You really have to use the times of where we have a lot of extra time on our hands to really make sure that the business is running the way that you want the business to run. And actually run the business rather than let the business run you when we're so busy, we can't, see our door. We have files piled up so high.
How do you stay focused in times of, I will use the word malaise. That's a good word. What does that mean?
Yeah. So just a general unease and sadness and almost like syrupy, like you feel, when times are slow, you've seen this in other crashes before, the air almost feels thicker. You know what I mean? Like it's just, you don't move as fast. Your brain doesn't move as fast. That's what I think malaise is, right? It's sort of a syrupy sensation in the air. And
Kind of like when you wake up in the morning and you can't get up.
You don't want to get right. You can't bring yourself to get out of bed.
Like it takes me a while, it takes me a while to get up. Like I got to read and drink copious amounts of caffeine and kind of like that. But like minus the caffeine, minus a good book by the plants there.
So what do I do? It's you have to psych yourself up into it sometimes. Sometimes you walk in and you have, sort of the world's problems on your shoulders, perhaps, and you have to be able to motivate a team towards the goal line. And that is something that you have to sort of psych yourself up to do sometimes. Because if you don't, there isn't anybody who's, nobody's coming in and congratulating me when I walk in the office, right? I mean, it's sort of,
Not yet.
but I mean, the buck sort of stops here. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I want to congratulate you. You're great.
But you know what I mean? There's no cheerleaders in the corner, in my corner, you just have to do it. And there's tasks at hand. And, when your name is on the shingle, you sort of think about it differently than other people. And not to say that, my team isn't engaged. They are. Not to say that they're not, achieving at their best most of the time. They absolutely are. But the responsibility falls, squarely on my shoulders to make the engine run. And if I don't feel like doing it, files don't come in the door. And then, people start wondering what's going on. And they feel it. And, we have to be as positive as we can be as leaders, because I've seen this before. I have the experience to know that this has happened many, many, many times in a career. This is just another time when it's happening. And let's use this time the way I've used it in the past, growing a business bigger than it was before it stopped.
What happened then?
Yeah. I mean, you mean what happened after me telling them that, or what happened when we got it bigger? Yeah.
Yeah, they got it. Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah. So in the past, when I was on the lending side, I was running a couple departments of a mid-sized mortgage company in New Jersey. And the market crashed, right? It was 2008, market crashes. And everybody's looking at the ground, the ceiling, at each other and saying, what's going on? And there were definite cuts in personnel, right? People that were in the trenches with you during the boom times are now out the door, and you forget their names and they're gone. I remember name tags coming off of cubes, daily. These 6 people aren't going to be here on Monday. These 12 people aren't going to be here. And, you get depressed. And then I had a couple people in that organization that were mentors of mine. And they rallied and they said that they'd seen it before. And they said that this is, a time to really sort of come together and really fight as a team. and make it better and try to fix the things that had broken. And as our competitors were panicking, we were emboldened, and we found branches that had been jettisoned by other places. And we rehabilitated them and brought them to our, system of doing things, and they became successful. And by the end of the crash, we were really positioned well to do the things we needed to do now that it's busy again.
How long did it was that process? Like, the reason I asked that, like, think of it, like, we're
Yeah.
all the listener is thinking, like, how long, is there hope? I don't see anything.
So from my
Can't see
point
the
of
end of
view,
the tunnel.
yeah, from my point of view, it happened very fast, meaning the identifying of the issue, what happened quickly, and the decision to grow happened quickly. And why that's important is because so many companies come to that decision way too late, right? So many people don't believe what they see in front of them, don't make the quick decisions, aren't limber enough to pivot to something else, and they're left holding the bag. And we were just sort of stupid enough to think that it was a great time to grow, and we had just enough wind under our sails, cash wise, to make some acquisitions, and it made all the difference. And look, some of that is happenstance and some of that is luck. Smart people close businesses all the time. Not every,
Yeah.
so it does happen. But what I think on average, over time, the people who are able to pivot fast, the people who are able to change the direction very, very, very quickly against strong headwinds, that takes courage, strong courage and conviction to be able to do that and to decide, look, everybody else is wrong, we're right, we're going to do this. Oftentimes that leads to great success.
Did you ever see, because you talked about in the last episode, growing up young, watching pops navigate business, grow business, him in a position of, I guess, duress and how he navigated it?
Yeah, absolutely. So my father, one of the businesses my father owned was a fur company, and he owned a fur company during the period of time where fur was really becoming, not only was it out of style and out of fashion, it was now becoming disastrous to wear fur. People were being called out, paint was being thrown on them, if you remember.
Wow.
There was a news show, I don't know if you remember, it was called A Current Affair, and they were following around people, and they who were throwing paint on individuals in New York City. And my father was all part of that. And, it's a business that had flourished for, many, 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 many years. To see it come down crashing around you, not just financially, but also now your father, there's something wrong with your father if this is what he's selling. And, in my mind, the words they were using, the language they were using is like, my father was a drug dealer. I mean, that's really what it felt like. And how could he be so evil? Look at what he's doing. And, as a young kid, you really don't sort of understand the cultural reasons this is happening, right? And I'm not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent. It's, you see your father struggling and in pain because of it. Now, luckily, he was able to move on from that, but there were people who could not. I mean, if all you did for a living was cut and sew, mink pelts, and, that's now out of fashion, that's a job that doesn't exist. And that's sort of, and I use that in situations like now where you think about technology replacing individuals, AI coming, blockchain coming, that'll replace title insurance perhaps. And, it sounds great and you can't see it because you're too close to it. So you don't see how immediate it is. But to always be vigilant, to always find out as much as you can about what's out there is the smartest direction to go. And I have plenty of people in my industry who I talk to about these issues. What do you think about blockchain? What do you think about AI? And, you'd be surprised how many people say to me, I don't think about it at all. I don't even know what you're talking about. I haven't even heard that. And you sort
Wow.
of shake your head and say to yourself, boy, if something goes wrong, are you going to be ready? Are you going to be ready to pivot? Are you going to know what to do, where to go, to seek shelter?
Hmm. Of those that are, you would say, you admire how they're navigating in this time. What are those conversations like? Where is their focus? What attributes would you ascribe of them?
It's funny because as you're asking me that question, I'm sort of thinking about if there's one person that has all of those attributes that I go to. And I think the answer to that is not really. I draw information from a lot of different sources and sort of piece it all together in my crystal ball. So I perhaps ask somebody who's in IT, what do you see coming down the line, technology wise? I talk to someone in banking, what do you see coming, interest rate wise? And then I take different conversations from different people and then distill that myself to get a real picture. But if you were asking me what kind of person would I want that to be, honestly, it's I like speaking with the person who is not singularly focused on their task at hand. So what I mean by that is there are a lot of people in this industry that were in it when you went to a vault, you pulled out a giant book, looked for a deed from 1907, you wrote it down on a piece of paper, and everything was manual, and you're really in the file, in the actual information that you're looking for. For me, that's not necessarily the critical task at this point. If all of that is online, if all of that is at my fingertips from my phone, is that the skill that you really need? So for me, a business owner that can sort of say, this is where I think the business is headed. These are sort of the headwinds that we face. This is what we should be doing. Like the visionary type, right? Who understands, the way that the industry is going, not necessarily individual, very laser focused on the doing of. While that's super important, a lot of that's getting automated. So that all changes. The way I do title insurance looks completely different than they did it 25 years ago. Completely different. It very little of it remains the same.
Are people, I guess one that I think the layperson might be asking, should I even buy a house right now?
I have an employee that was given the opportunity to purchase a home and have her parents help her out. And a lot of her friends, and I think she's about, say, between 28 and 35, younger than 35, 28 to 32. And a lot of her friends, her contemporaries say, you shouldn't buy a house, just rent. Buying a house is stupid. You lose money, blah, 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 blah. And it amazes me.
Wow.
So little financial, knowledge, so little, education about this exists. And I can't believe how much misinformation there is online. And it really is incredible.
Wait, so let's unpack this. That's like a case study. You're saying that they're relaying to you that their echo chamber, their collective group of people, their peer group.
Yep.
Is it the average that's that, or is it like?
No, definitely not the average, but certainly some loud voices.
Loud voices.
Yeah.
And where do you think all that's coming from?
If I was a conspiracy theorist, which I'm not, I would say to myself,
we're going to title this episode.
If I were a conspiracy,
hey, that's how we'd actually get listeners with that one.
If I was a conspiracy theorist, I would say that there are large organizations that are buying up residential homes, and their hope would be that there were more renters than there were buyers. So
and Scott, they're buying them because they're a terrible investment.
Correct. Exactly right. Right.
God, I hope they get that.
It's that alone if Goldman Sachs is
Great
doing
point.
something, Scott Rutkay should be doing the same thing. I mean, right? I mean, smarter people than me have decided that one of the best assets you can own is real estate over time. Do they come with extreme costs? They sure do.
So let's say you're talking to one of these friends,
Yep,
because we have listeners at all ages,
sure.
at varying degrees of success. Why buy now?
Yeah.
What is a mortgage?
So let's just say that your home never appreciates, that all you did was pay off your mortgage. If you treat your mortgage like a Christmas fund where you're just saving money, at the end of 30 years, you're going to have the entire equity of your home, the entire cost that you paid for your home plus all the equity. If that's all it did. Traditionally, that's not all a piece of real estate does. Traditionally, real estate does appreciate. We've certainly seen that over the number of years. Can it be stagnant now? Sure. But if you're willing to sort of give it the time that it requires, you're going to win in the real estate market. Own stone is what my grandfather said. That's and
Really?
own stone. And he believed it. He believed that really the only investment that you should make is real estate. And that was manifest by the fact that an asset that he bought for $32,000 was worth many, many, many times that when he passed away.
Wow.
And that was with no real estate acumen. He wasn't in the business, worked for the government his whole life. He wasn't a wealthy man by any stretch of the imagination. He just, got an inheritance, bought a house in a potato field that happened to be on some water, and that turned into a place that was worth money, years and years and years later.
Do you think real estate can change the trajectory of someone's legacy?
I mean, 100% it could. I mean, you're talking about having, if you can pull equity out of a property and you use that money to further education, to further, you know what I mean? So
yeah, you know who did that? That's been on the show, Stan Middleman's dad.
Okay.
That just came into my brain.
Yeah.
And that like changed how he viewed the world. And like, I just think like a renter, listen, we didn't have anything, like, renter family, it was rough. Like,
And the person who owns the house that you're living in is getting all of that appreciation, all of it. And if the rent is set to what theoretically the rent should be set at, he's also paying off any mortgage that he has on the property. So
you think there's any level of I don't know, I'm just curious what you think, because you're quite the psychologist in my view. Like this age group, is it they're having a hard time saving? Because I mean, think about it. Imagine growing up now and everything, the whole world is just better than whatever you got going on. I just like, meaning you're looking at the Instagram, you're looking at the Facebook, you're listening to us. Everybody must be better than me. Like I have a certain amount of money. I got to spend it. Like I'm being told I need to spend it. I don't know. It seems like saving money. Is saving money getting harder? Is it down payment? I don't know.
I think that life is more expensive for the average person than ever before. So how many monthly payments do you think your grandfather had? He might have had a small mortgage. He bought his car in cash.
You mean like living, like a holistically living?
Right.
No Netflix and this and that.
How about no telephone? Perhaps until he got a party line, right? I mean, so that's what's happened is that
drip.
Correct. We've become a world of monthly payments, right? So now people think of items in terms of how much it costs them a month, not how much the actual item costs. My father used to tell me that if you can't buy something 3 times over in cash, you shouldn't buy it.
Those days are dead.
Those days are long gone. Long gone. First of all, I don't think anybody has any cash, but second of all, if they did, they're definitely not buying anything, 3 times over. And I think that hurts. And I think that people get into that mindset. And I think you're right. I think there is a little bit of the keeping up with the Joneses. and they see, a lot of, are you telling me that my friend Steven just ate the world's best cupcake? And it was and then they go there and it's $19 for a cupcake and they take a picture of it. And so that the next guy can say, and it's sort of, a lot of
Ooh,
brinksmanship,
that's interesting.
a lot of, I can do better than you. And I'm going to, not only am I going to do better than you, but I'm going to show you and I'm going to document it. And then you're going to see how great it is. And that really is definitely a big factor to driving, what's going on.
What do you think of those people that are out there on social platforms telling people not to buy houses? Because I see those a lot.
Sure you
And
do.
they appear very successful.
Yep. Yeah. If I were a conspiracy theorist, I might think that they're enriching themselves by delivering that message. Look, if somebody's telling you
What are they selling, basically?
right, if somebody's telling you to do something, odds are it's connected to them making a buck. I mean, if you're watching it on a device, I'm not telling you a story for free. If I'm trying to, if that's the story, if I'm telling you my life story, odds are there's a book at the end of it. There's a tape to get at the end of it.
Is there, you think that, I guess, what's been your experience sharing your insights through these platforms, and what has been some of the lessons and what you hope to gain from it?
Yeah, the one thing that I learned very early on is how illiterate this industry is to other pieces of it. Loan officers don't know anything about title insurance. I don't know anything about how realtors work. There aren't that many pieces to the puzzle. And it seems like we all have silos in our own industries. And where I've had the most success, and this was just luck, I started as a lender, went into title insurance. So I sort of have both of those experiences. So I know what a lender needs to close a loan, and I know what I need to get from a lender so that we can insure a property. That's learning to ask questions, learning to be inquisitive, learning not to rely on what you think you know. I pretty much tell everybody every day the following statement: I'm not born knowing the things I know. You have to learn them, and you either learn them by reading, you learn them by being taught by other people, or you learn them organically as things happen. It's very important to me to educate people about what we do. First of all, it's better for them to know. How much easier is it to sell a home if you know everything there is to know about title insurance? Everything that a lender would need for them to be, good borrowers. It's only helpful to know everything you can about a particular industry. And that's something that doesn't happen very often. And a lot of the excuses that people give me are, it's so busy, I don't have time to, I don't have time to do it. When, loans are falling from the sky, no one really has time to do anything. And it dumbs down the industry. And automation has dumbed down the industry. So, you sort of have that happening already, just the way technology works. And that's why I'm asked the same question over and over again, by the same people, because they weren't taught the industry. They weren't taught the business.
What's the question?
Just all kinds of different things. So, for example, just questions about, what do I do if a husband can't find a wife, if she's run away, they're estranged? How do we solve for that? How do we get judgments, released by the creditors? Just all kinds of things that if you sort of knew how things worked, you'd know it. You wouldn't have to ask it. And then in this business where speed is of such value, asking a question takes half a day to get an answer. And you've wasted half a day.
Wow. People build strong relationships with their title partners. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, 100%.
How do those, what are some of the struggles that come with that relationship? Is it meaning that create openings for new relationships? Is it just the natural chaos of it? Because things arise that people aren't sure how to solve. So then, they're kind of up against the barrel as far as timing, like getting it done. And then I'm just curious, like how that dynamic works.
Yeah.
And where the opportunities present themselves for
So,
either side, right?
theoretically, every loan has a finish line, right? It's when you're purchasing the property or when your rate lock ends. That's the finish line for most people. So if you tell me, Scott, we have a closing date August 1st, I now have a target to get to August 1st. I know that I can keep my mouth shut for any problems that might arise in that transaction all the way to July 31st. And then say, hey guys, I forgot to tell you, the seller, I don't think owns the property. I think it's another guy. Now, who has that helped? It hasn't helped me, because now I'm going to be in a mess of trouble from all of my clients in that transaction. Doesn't help the buyer, doesn't help the seller, doesn't help the attorney, doesn't help anybody. So this truly is a job of speed and accuracy. We have to be absolutely sure that we're right about what we're saying, and we have to deliver that news as quickly as we can. And you'd be shocked how that oftentimes doesn't happen the way it should. And you really can only solve problems that exist with time and money. Everything can be solved with time and money. If I had all the time in the world, I could solve anything. If you need something done faster, give me all the money in the world and I can fix whatever you need. The problem is that if I deliver that news a day before the closing, there's no amount of time that we have, there's only 24 hours left, and, no amount of money is ever going to fix that problem. So it's super important for me, at least, to treat this business like an emergency room, and everybody is cross-trained so that when something comes in on fire, anybody knows how to fix it. Anybody knows how to jump in and triage that situation. It's been incredibly powerful for me. It was the way that I learned how to do this business. I thought that's how everybody did it until I came to find out that is not how everybody does it.
No, wait, not everyone does it that way.
No, and there's a million ways to do it. But what, some people say, well, Steve's working on that file. Steve's on vacation. When he comes back, like he'll know what to do. I don't know anything about that file. And that's sort of the situation that a lot of people get into, where that's just, not being a good leader, not knowing
Does
how to
title
do it.
blow up? Like, does that happen in
So
the industry? And like, what percentage would you say you think? I know that's a bit maybe
yeah,
too
that's
specific, but I'm curious, like, what is it harder than it appears?
I don't think, no, the answer to that is, it is not harder than it appears. What it is, it can be complicated. It can take time to unwind, but more importantly, because people aren't educated in this particular type of law, people do things that they don't necessarily understand have long-standing ramifications. For example, if two people are getting divorced and they own a piece of real estate together, and the divorce is finalized, and you never take the other person off the deed, so they still own the property, you're divorced. But for whatever reason, you didn't do a new deed. Maybe he's a jerk, he ran off. Or maybe she didn't want to sign anything, that you were, still arguing about some money at the end, and there was nothing, you never got it done. Any judgment or lien that person who's gone gets levied against them can attach to that property. And I don't think there's a person that I speak to where that happens to them that had any idea that could be possible. And, or for example, in New Jersey, there's no such thing as being separated. You're married, even if you're estranged. So oftentimes two people split up, and I get asked the question, hey, Scott, I have a borrower in New Jersey. She doesn't know where her ex is. They're separated. And I said, whoa, ever get divorced? No. Then they're married. So what you're saying instead is husband and wife own a property. And it's sort of understanding, the ramifications of these acts are where I spend most of my day, is telling people, educating people what should have been done, what has to be done. Listen, when I call, I'm bad news, always. Always. It's, hey, Jay, you're never going to believe it. but your borrower has, 3, tax liens against them. Did you know that? No. Well, here's how we fix it. By the time it gets to me, it's gone sideways 3 times already. And we have to really fix it.
What advice do you have for the audience? It's, get in the, I guess, the thick of the summer.
Yeah.
Some people might be taking vacations. Some may not. Some may and should not. Some may not have to and should. I feel like one of your poems right now.
I feel like there's a code in there somewhere that I should be.
No. Well, that's interesting. What's your advice?
I would genuinely say to use this time to learn everything you can so that when things change, you'll be ready for that change. So whatever that is for them, whatever industry they're in, whatever is their focus, to not get dull. This is a great time to sharpen the saw. It really is. And I know that it sounds mundane, and I'm not saying that to sort of answer your question in a joking way. It really, that's sort of the most important thing in an industry like ours. Things change very fast. There are a lot of things coming down the pike that are scary relative to individual employees and business owners. Educate yourself. Make yourself, smarter than the next guy. Make yourself as ready as you can be, prepare, so that when things do change and the spigot gets turned back on, we just go back to work, and we go back to work in a more efficient way. Maybe we've implemented some of those things that we saw, demoed them when we have time to demo things now. Spigot turns on and it's like it never turned off.